Alright, stay still there. So this is part 3 of Albie's Bigfoot video, where I left off as I was talking about through all the many years that I was there in that campground for 2 weeks each year, 9 consecutive years, that I would see campers, backpackers come running, throw their backpacks in their car, jump in their car, and take off and leave all their camping gear, their stoves, their lights, all their gear there. And then after about 3 days, the ranger would come and pick up all the stuff, gather it, and take it away. So the senior rangers all knew. All the senior rangers all knew. And the younger rangers, they let them find out for their own, just like every camper finds out. You know, you either run into them or you don't. They pick you. A lot of times, if you run into them by accident, that's something else. But a lot of times, when they're interacting with you, like over and over again, like the same person, that's they're doing that on purpose, because they actually chosen you because you probably have a good heart and you're a good person. You give more than you take in this world, and that's a big thing for them, because that's how they live. Give more than you take. So so you got these people that would come in and just grab all this stuff and disappear. And out of the 10 years, I've probably seen that maybe once or twice out of the 10 years that happened. So another thing that would happen is from like 69 to 73, the stocking truck, big silver truck, would come in. He would dump trout along certain points in the campgrounds, and everybody would bust out fishing, and we'd all fish. But in 73, the ranger came up and said, we'll not be stocking the river this year, because we're having problems with people following the stocking trucks and taking the fish while they're still days, and not, you know, it's not fair to be stealing the fish out of the river like that right when they're dumped. So that's what was the excuse they told us. But I know personally that what had happened with the trout stocks are the Bigfoots were following the trucks, and they were doing that. That's what the Bigfoots were doing, because it's easy to get a cop up there. There's rangers everywhere in these areas. Just get one ranger to follow the truck around, so that can't happen. I mean, that's simple. That's simple to do that. But the thing is that ain't no ranger going to follow a stocking truck, because they know it's going to happen. You'd have stocking drivers, they only lasted 2 weeks, because after they ran into their first Bigfoot, they were done stocking in those areas. They were not going back ever, or even stocking again. So trying to get a person to drive a stocking truck up there and do that in certain parts of the Sierras where the Bigfoot are heavy, that's no go. Not going to happen. They love fish so much that they're gonna go after the stocking trucks. They're gonna follow them through the woods, and then as soon as they dump the trout and the guy turns around, they're just attacking the fish. So that's what was happening. The last part of this, me talking about Bigfoot, is well, I guess everybody writes a book. I mean, I actually have lots of private pages on Facebook that are just dedicated to shamans and shamans that are interacting just like I did when I was younger with them. So I've run into a few hundred shamans now on private pages that you cannot get into unless you're a shaman. You have to prove to your shaman to get into some of these private pages. And then not only that, a lot of these people that have already written books about basically what I'm going to tell you, what I've told you. So I was just going to pull out a piece and read a piece from my book that I'm writing, and maybe you might find this interesting. I'm going to find a piece here. All right, this one story, because it's made up of different stories after story after story, and each one is a certain encounter. And there's a certain encounter I wanted to talk about. This encounter, I guess I should have had it ready, shouldn't I? All right, well, I'll just tell it to you best I can. This encounter is, this was the year 1973, and this was the 3rd year that we had pulled into this campground in the High Sierras. It's a 9-mile dirt road down into a canyon. we'll just say along the headwaters of the San Joaquin River. That's as close as I'll tell you. We would be west of Mammoth. And in this valley down there, we would spend 2 weeks every year from August 15th to August 30th, and maybe September 1st, we would leave there. So we spent 2 weeks there for 9 years straight, and then a few years after that. The first year I was there was age 6. My first encounter there was 7 and a half, age 7. By age 10, they were pretty much knew me. I knew them. They were talking to me. I was talking with them. They were trading with me. I'm trading with them. 1973, we pulled into the campground, and this is the first time this happened. This is like the 4th year we've been there. We pull into the campground, and the campground is full of rangers, horseback rangers, searchers. So there's like a big to-do going on in the campground. Like usually there's 30 campers down in the campground we go to, but there must have been 30 people on horseback and another 30 people that were just search and rescue teams. So when we pulled in, and we're like, what's going on? And they're like, okay, 2 days ago, from the campground right next to mine, just north of mine, a 3-year-old girl disappeared, and without a trace from that campground. And so it was an intense search going on, and my campground was kind of like the base point at that ranger station where they spread out. And I remember them going out all night and coming back the next morning and getting ready to go out again. And then on the second morning we were there, they all stopped. And they all brought their horses back, loaded them up, and everybody was all happy. What happened? The little girl was found. She was found. But this is the thing, is where she was found. She was found 2 mountain ridges over, about 45 miles. Let's say 40 miles. 2 mountain ridges and about 45 miles north in an area called the June Lake Loop. A driver was south of June Lake, heading back down the mountain towards Mammoth, and a large arm, a very large arm, reached out with a child and set the child in the middle of the road, just from the tree line, next to the tree line. It was right next to the road, and an arm came out of the tree line right next to the edge of the road, set the child right in front of an oncoming car. The car stopped, and the child only had on her pants. She had no socks and shoes on, and no shirt. She was scratched up. They said she was scratched up, but she was fine. She was hydrated. She was fed. And the thing is, you got to understand, even though it's August, at 9,000 feet of the elevation between 87 and 9,000, the campground, and the ridges that she had to cross to get over to the other where they had found her. Even though it's August, the temperatures are still down to 20 degrees, 19 degrees easily in August. So the ridges that she had to go over were probably down into the 0 degrees, up over those ridges. So, and the thing that was, she had no frostbite, so somehow she was kept warm, and she was fed and water. She just was scratched up. So that was the 3rd year at that campground, and I know that a lot of people would wonder why they would take a little girl, but my suspicion is that she was grabbed by a couple juveniles that were kind of playing with her, and then took her to her largers, and the larger ones didn't know what to do with her, so they took her to an elder. The elder took her to a road, probably was the closest paved road that they thought was, well, where humans were traveling a lot, and then set her on the road. Like after she was with them for 3 days, she spent 3 days with them. So that's just one of the many stories of being in this campground in the High C areas just west of Mammoth Mountain. So that's, again, this was my, as far as Bigfoot in Southern California, that's what I've been, my research, and not really my search, because they want me to interact with them as part of a person that I've been chosen to kind of represent them, to let people know where they are, who they are, what they expect from us as far as, you know, respecting them and knowing that they're there. Not shooting them. Please stop shooting them. You don't need to kill one. We all know one. We all know they're there. We don't need to kill one. We don't need to prove to the rest of the world. If you know, you know. It doesn't mean that they need to be killed or one needs to be taken down so we can prove to everybody. That doesn't matter. They've already have messages to hundreds of people out there. You need to go to these messages and these people. Hundreds of Native American shaman, North American Native shaman, are aware and are connecting with them, and communicating with them. I mean, we've all heard of in the first 80s, we all heard of a gal back east, Ohio, I think it was, and her grandfather and grandparents, and she also grew up with one of the first interacting Bigfoot that was well known. His name was Fox. Fox would come to these people's house. He was the elder of their group, and he would ask for sugar. And it was on what? It was on Mysteries, Ancient Mysteries. It was on with Leonard Nimoy. It was on, and she was one of the first one in the early mid '80s to come out and say, yeah, a Bigfoot comes onto our property and it talks to us, and it asked my grandparents. My grandparents had passed away, but it started coming to her and asking her for sugar. And somebody asked her, well, get a hair sample, and she gave it sugar and pulled a hair sample off of it, and she told everybody she did that. So that's a habituation where people are habituating with them. They have them on their property. They're interacting with them, and it's all over America. But it's being suppressed by the stupidity of minds that would mock you and laugh at you and make fun at you if you were to bring this up. So you got to understand, please. The lesser minds that would mock, or it's not really that they're lesser, or it's chosen. It's a fear. They're scared to believe that what you're telling me is real. It's very hard to accept. It's scary. It's very frightening. It changes people's perception, definitely, of life. So you can understand why people, when you tell people about this, that they close up or they attack you, because it's very hard for them to deal with. They're not ready for it, so don't bring it up to you. You only bring up Bigfoot stuff to people that are open to Bigfoot. Don't torture yourself by going and telling people who don't believe or are not into it at all. Don't bring it up to them. You're just asking to get stomped on. So bring up your Bigfoot stories and all your Bigfoot interactions with people that would care about you and care about that you that know that very interested and very open-minded, or they've already had contact. Do your time with those people. Okay? Namaste. Blessings. One love.